All right, you guys, this is going to be super fun. My name is Crispina French. I am a textile upcycling artist, activist, podcast host, um, summit host, you guys, coming up in April 2023. And every Tuesday, I come on here to all the different all the different social media channels that I use, and I broadcast for 20 minutes live to teach and share and answer questions about my experience textile upcycling. So last week, you guys, I've had such a flipping crazy last couple of weeks. I just have to tell you. So last week, I had to record the session, and when I posted it, it didn't actually go live the way I had expected it. So I am going to redo our subject matter from last week. So today I'm going to teach you how to make these super cool ornaments that I call them baubles, and they're made out of packing paper. You can use plastic bags. You can use bubble wrap if whatever, any kind of like packing material that's going to waste. You're going to need, a little bit of that. You really don't need too much of it. Like this amount of stuff is going to be useful for probably 6 baubles. You can use bubble wrap. The things that don't work all that well that are packing material are those like air pillow things. They just don't really, they're not conducive to this process. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a piece of this paper, whatever it is. Sorry, it's kind of loud. On the last one I did, I used like a plastic bag. So you're going to take whatever materials you're using, and you're going to ball them up into like a snowball, right? Like kind of just make a shape that you like. They can be big, small, doesn't matter. And actually what I'm going to do is I'm going to tell you, if you want to follow along right now, take a minute and go get some packing material or plastic bags or whatever you might have that's going to waste around your place, a pair of scissors, some fabric scraps, like little itty bitty stuff is fine. And then if you are like me and you have your embroidery floss or stitching stuff and it looks like this, a big knot of like random colors of thread, you can use that up too. So while those of us who want to follow along are running around gathering up those materials, so again, scissors, a thread of some kind, whether it's, I like to use waste, you guys. So like it's stuff that I've got that is all knotted up and I'm going to use that. The packing material, you could also use Scotch tape and a needle or a sewing needle that is like a large-eyed sewing needle. And while people are doing that, I would like to ask, who's out there? Somebody pop a comment in. I see a whole bunch of waving. I see Susan Seltzer art. I see mud and spit. I see mindful mending. So welcome everybody. I would like to know, is this your first time catching Tuesday's Textile Alchemy, or are you a tried and true person who comes back every Tuesday for these 20 minutes of creative, kind of just a little break in the afternoon on your Tuesday? And where are you listening to this live, or are you catching a recording? I would love to know, where are you tuning in from? So pop some comments in there. While you're doing that, I am going to grab, here it is. Hold on one second. I'm not going anywhere. I'm just reading here. I have a big tub full of scraps of fabric that I'm going to pull out and use bits of. And if you are interested in following along, if you just joined, you're going to need scraps of fabric. We are going to make some ornaments today, some thread, some packing material, and we're gonna get busy and make some super cool stuff. Danny says first time, hey Danny, and you're from and then I have, let's see, Gratitude Quilter. I love that. Gratitude is so important, you guys. First time from Tampa, Florida. Welcome, welcome, you guys. We are all into upcycling. So I like to take things that are actually like heading to the landfill and give them a whole second life. So you're in the right place if you're thrifty like that. And today we're going to make some ornaments, and we're going to just spend about 20 minutes working on these together. So I want to say hello to Mud and Spit, a return listener from Roswell, Georgia. Hey, hey. Thank you for joining, everybody. Okay, so back at it, we're going to use the packing material. So when I say packing material, this stuff came in a box from, you know, some shipment that we received here at the studio. If you have stuff that's not brown paper, bubble wrap works. The only thing that really doesn't work are those air pillow things, right? Because we want to kind of ball the material up. If you're using bubble wrap, in my experience, it's nice if you use the smooth side of the bubble wrap on the outside of your ball. But we're going to start with paper here. You can also use plastic bags if you have, you know, plastic bags from like food items that are bread or rice cakes or whatever. Those work really nicely as well. So you're going to take a piece of paper or your packing material, about like that, and you can kind of unfold it, and then just kind of refigure it into a nice sort of snowball sized piece, right? Then we're going to take our, okay, so let me back up a little bit. Before I got started with you guys today, I took a bunch of my big like knot of embroidery floss and threads, and I tied them. I pulled. So what I do, I'm going to show you this step by step because it's really helpful to have the visual. You know, here we go, big knot, right? So I'm just going to pull a piece out. Okay, so here's a piece, and I'm going to take another piece out. And if it gets stuck and it's knotted, it's okay just to go ahead and cut it. Let's see, that one's a really big long one. I'm going to cut that. And here's another piece, and I'm just going to tie these end to end, like, you know, overhand knot. So super simple. Whatever knot you like to work with is perfectly fine. And what I do is you know, when I'm sitting around kind of like not doing much, I will go through my whole little tin and make a ball of yarn or string, if you will, that is all of these little bits tied together. Okay, and I did that already. So I have this ball of string that we're going to use. Okay, so if you haven't done that already, you can kind of just follow along. You can do that afterward, or if you want to, you can just kind of work with what you've got as you go. Okay, so I have my snowball shaped piece. If you're not from a cold weather climate, snowballs are probably a little foreign to you, but you can just follow along. And then I'm going to take some of these fabric scraps, and I'm just going to kind of wrap this. This is a nice piece of bright blue, super soft cashmere left over from some skirts I was making last week. And I'm just going to hold it in place. Like with most things, I find that the holding of things, the way that you're holding things really helps make things easy, or sometimes you need to readjust, and it you know, maybe it's making things hard if you're not holding it properly. As I'm kind of holding this, and I'm kind of, you know, it doesn't matter, it's kind of haphazard, it's fine. I'm going to take the end of my string and I'm going to place that underneath my finger. If you have tape handy and you want to just tape that down, that works too. And then I'm just going to start wrapping. I'm going to wrap my little piece of blue fabric scrap in place. Okay. Does anybody have any questions? Somebody doing okay? Okay. Then I'm going to take some more fabric. I have a bunch of like shiny bits. Let's see, what do I got here? I just want to find the pieces that there we go. Here's a shiny bit of like a little piece of ribbon. I'm going to put that down there, and I'm just going to keep on wrapping. Okay. And it doesn't matter if can you see it's like folded, there's a piece sticking up here. Totally fine. It's just when you get started, you just kind of want to hold the pieces in place, so you're not trying to like manage too many things at once. And then I'm going to put another little piece here. And you can see these are tiny little scraps of fabric. So you don't, if you don't have any tiny little scraps of fabric, it's totally fine to either cut some. You can use colored paper. You can skip the fabric piece of this and just use the packing material and string. It's really, these are super flexible. They come out really lovely, no matter which way you go with them, which technique you use. I have some pretty velvet here. I'm just going to snip a piece off. And actually, let me show you something. This is like a piece of the velvet that I use to edge my blankets. And it's like the triangular bit that's left over when you make bias tape. And I think that if I use this whole piece, let me see, it's kind of big and it's going to cover up some of the pieces that I really like and want to have showing. So I'm going to cut that into a smaller piece, one-handed, because, I'm a professional. I am, I have my PhD in cutting circles without patterns. Okay, so then I'm going to put this, here's a bunch of kind of exposed brown paper. So I'm going to just cover that beautiful kind of citrony green velvet over there. And I'm just going to keep on wrapping. And now I have a lot of the paper is covered with fabric. So I'm going to put one more piece there. And then just kind of wrap that one down into place. And I'm just going to wrap and wrap, right? So now the reason why it's very easy for me to wrap continually is because I've made this ball of string. I've tied all my little bits of string together. Can you see there's a knot, so that's why I'm not running out and having to tie knots as I go. And if you're doing that, that's fine too. For the sake of efficient time use here, I just prepared a little bit. So I'm just going to keep on going. I'm going to try to wrap down any kind of like the loose bits that are sort of sticking out. And there's some yarn mixed in here. So I've got some wool yarn left over from maybe some knitting projects. I have most of this, I think, is actually embroidery floss for me. So here we go. Now, I just want to say, I think we've been on together here for, what is it? Is there a timer somewhere? I think it's like 10 minutes. Okay. So here's an ornament that is pretty cool. It's really colorful. It has a beautiful, kind of colorful, whimsical, sparkly finish, which sometimes is a little hard, the translation across the internet. Sometimes it loses a little bit of its luster, but I can rest assured that it's pretty cool. And I kind of find the more you wrap, the more interesting they get. So I'm going to keep going a little bit. I see my little ball of yarn ends is getting smaller, but there's some really pretty oranges and things mixed in there. So I'm going to just keep going for a little bit. And then I'm going to snip this. So I have this end here, right? And I'm going to, now again, if you have a piece of tape handy, you can use that to hold so that you can kind of put your ball down and thread your needle. But I do not have tape handy, and I'm just going to thread my needle this way while holding it there. And then I'm going to take my needle and I'm going to slip it underneath a couple layers of what I've got wrapped around. Now I can literally let it go. And it's, oh, can you hear my dog barking? There's a delivery man here, so excuse me. 1 second. So I would yell downstairs, but I think that hey guys, I'm on a live stream. Sorry, it's okay. So I see that, yeah. So this is the ornament. I actually have 2 dogs. That's Mocha, and she's a bit of a barker. She's a border collie. And then we have Zorro, who's a pup, so he's a little bit less of a barker. So here's the ornament. Now we have the single string here, and there's a couple ways of going about the next step. We can tie this in a knot and then wrap it again. Or I think this piece of yarn is actually, it's wool and it's very thin. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to rethread my needle and I'm going to stitch it back through in a couple of spots so that it's secure and it won't come unraveled. So when I say that, this is, here I am. I got my needle threaded and there's a extra little hitchhiker piece of string there. So here we go, needle threaded through the string. So I'm just going to tuck that end back under in a couple of different spots and just kind of weave it into the ornament. It's fine to go through the paper. Okay, if you're using bubble wrap, you don't want to pierce the air pockets because you'll wind up with kind of a softened ornament that the string will become loose and kind of unravel. Now I'm going to snip this extra bit off right next to the surface, and I'm going to come back in. I'm going to grab a piece of colorful, I like to use the cotton for the hangers just because I feel like it's a little bit more durable. You know, you want to make sure that what you're creating is going to be, it'll last a nice long while. So you're going to make a loop. So here's just a circle of, there we go, circle of embroidery floss. The lighting is weird today. I'm not sure how well you can see what I'm doing, but okay. And then we're going to take that needle, or if you have a crochet hook handy, that would also work really nicely. And we're going to thread the looped end through the needle. There we go. And then we're going to take that needle, we're going to slip that through a couple, just like an intersection of where, can you see the needle there? So right here, there's just like a cross of the wrapped stitch, the wrapped string through there, and then we're going to pull that out. So right now we've got this ball is hanging on the intersection between of wrapping, and I'm just going to pull one end through the other, and there is our ornament. Right? So have fun with this little project. This is a great project to do with children, with people who might not be familiar with sewing techniques. And it's just a fun little quick thing that is super easy and uses up fabrics that are on the way to the landfill. The other thing I really like to incorporate in these is shiny bits. So if you have threads that are metallic or scraps of, candy wrappers, you guys, I'm telling you, like anything can work in here. Of course, if you're using any kind of a food wrapper, you want to make sure it's nice and clean before you go wrapping it into your ornament. But what do you think? Anybody? I want to know, I want to hear from you. If you have just tuned in, my name is Crispina French, and it is such a pleasure to spend 20 minutes on Tuesday afternoons with you here live streaming every Tuesday. And today we made these, what I call baubles, and they're made out of packing material. Inside here is brown paper like this. And it is just simply wrapped with, here's my stash of embroidery floss, you guys. Like I keep this in this tin. I've had this tin. Anybody else out there have a tin with their embroidery floss in it? It's like a cookie tin. This was actually something I've had since childhood. I'm not even kidding. Like my mom gave me this tin, and I think that I can't remember what came in this tin, but it's a square metal tin, and it has, cover. Some of these, you probably see the ones like the cookie tins that sometimes have different, the butter cookies or whatever. That works really well. But when I'm sewing, I oftentimes will toss the leftover bits of whatever I'm making into a tin, and into this tin, and then it gets all tangled up. And, sometimes I can pull out bits that I want to use. And this time of year, my big wedge of knotted up odds and ends of my yarn and string gets used to make these super cool baubles. So if anybody's interested, I can, this will be posted as a recording on whatever platform you are watching this, if you're here with me live. And if not, I would love to see pictures. You guys post what you make. I love to see it. And if you run into any questions and you get stumped with any part of this process, let me know. But a really great way to keep your holidays sustainable, right? So this time of year, we are tending to overconsume and buy things that are maybe not quite right, but we feel obliged to be gift giving. And what is the point of the holidays is to really connect with your friends and family and loved ones. So somebody says here, gratitude quilter, post more yours finished, please. post more of the finished ornaments. Is that what you mean? I actually have a big bowl of them, and I brought them to a show that I did last weekend. We used them as a display, and I did not grab those because they're kind of buried in a bunch of stuff, but I will definitely post pictures of these. There are some pictures of these on my feed. So if you're interested in seeing, oh, she says yes. So yes, I'm imagining that you identify as a female. So they say yes, Gratitude Quilter. Um, so it's really fun. And I think that I touched upon every aspect that I can think of as far as the making process goes. I definitely will come back and I will post images of the ones that I have made, and I would love to see the ones that you have made as well. So Gratitude Quilter is totally female. That's awesome. Glad I guessed properly, and I hope you have a really lovely week. Next Tuesday is the 20th, I believe, right? I think so. So I will have another, our focus this month is sustainable holidays. So I'm going to share with you some other tips and tricks about how to keep the green in the Christmas holiday season. And I hope you have a really lovely week. See you then.